Do not be deterred by any of the misinformation that you see. People out there are going to try to make it seem as though your vote doesn't really matter, that your vote doesn't really count, or that the results of the election will not be properly tabulated. None of that is true. It's so critical. It's so important that everyone vote. We always talk about every election as though, this is the most important election of our lifetime. But, I was just saying to my kids that are 17 the other day, I know we say that every 2 years, every 4 years, but this time we really mean it. This really, I will tell you, this absolutely is, for me at my age, which is older than 29, this is the most important election that I have ever participated in. There are a number of different issues I just think it's so important that everybody be aware of. The most important thing to myself and to Secretary Benson, and to all of us at the state of Michigan, is making sure that voters are not disenfranchised, and that you are able to vote, you're able to vote safely, and that your vote counts. Because of Proposition 3 in 2018, which you, the voters, helped to pass, there are more ways to vote than there have ever been before. First time that we have no reason absentee ballot voting, which is amazing and, of course, highly necessary, given the fact that we have a global pandemic. We want to make sure everyone feels safe when they vote. And so, we just want to make sure that your votes are counted. Now, there's been a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of misinformation. And what is important for everybody to know and understand is that if you vote properly, your vote really is going to count. But you have to sort of get used to being in a space where we have to tune out the misinformation that is coming to us from all different places, from election interference, both foreign and domestic. It's not going to actually interfere with the counting of the votes. It'll just interfere with people's understanding of how to vote and when to vote. So we want to clear up some of those misperceptions that have been caused. First of all, I'm working hand in hand with Secretary Benson each and every day, and that's why we're out doing all of these different events to make sure that we are coordinating so that she, as the chief election officer, is doing everything that she needs to do, and I, as the chief law enforcement officer, making sure that I'm supporting her, but also enforcing all of our election laws and making sure that if anybody violates them, that there are consequences for that. So you might have heard, for instance, a little bit about this lawsuit that I filed against the United States Postal Service. And what we saw was an effort by the Postal Service and the new Postmaster General to slow down the mail. And what I believe is that it was politically motivated so that it would make it harder for people's absentee ballots to arrive in time in order to be counted. So myself and many other attorneys general across the United States sued. We got what's known as a preliminary injunction in court, a national preliminary injunction, telling the Postmaster General that all the changes that he had made specifically to slow down the mail would have to be retracted. And so the mail service should be more of what it was previous to those changes being made over the summer. And that is a court order that is now being enforced. But with that, we want you to be very mindful of the timing of when you put your vote in the mail. And what we are recommending is that if you are going to vote by mail, which is a great option, that you have your ballot in the mail by no later than October 19th, if possible. But that being the case, let's talk about a few other types of misinformation that are out there. There were robocalls that were made to residents in the city of Detroit recently with a lot of wrong information, telling people that if they registered to vote absentee, it meant that their personal information would be shared with their creditors, would be shared with law enforcement in case they had any outstanding warrants, would be shared with ICE. Let me tell you this, none of that is true. When you register to vote absentee, it is for the purpose of you receiving an absentee ballot so that you can vote absentee, the end. That's it. Your information can't be shared with anyone for any purpose beyond that. Some other misinformation. The President of the United States has indicated that you should vote twice, maybe. Let me say this, don't vote twice. It is illegal in Michigan. It is illegal in every state in the country. And of course, anyone who tries to do that will be able to catch them. There are many processes in place where we would be able to do that. And unfortunately, we will be prosecuted. So every eligible voter should be able to vote, but only one time. So please don't do that. And remember that if you vote absentee and you want to know, well, what happened to my vote? Don't show up at the polling place on November 3rd to check to see if your vote counted. You can check it online. And all you got to do is go to michigan.gov/vote, and you can actually track your absentee ballot so that you'll know that it has been received by your local clerk. So please don't do that either. Some other misinformation that's been put out there. Some people saying that if you have a felony conviction that you can't vote. In Michigan, that is not at all true. If you have misdemeanor convictions, if you have felony convictions, if you are on parole or probation, doesn't matter. You can still vote. You are a United States citizen like everyone else. Literally, all you have to do is register to vote, like everyone. You don't have to do anything special to get your rights restored. The only people that can't vote are people who are under a sentence currently for a criminal conviction, and they are in jail and prison, or prison. So even if you're in jail awaiting disposition of a case, you actually can still register to vote absentee. But anybody who's out of jail or prison, doesn't matter. You could have 50 felony convictions, doesn't matter. You don't have to do anything special, just register to vote. And again, you can be on probation or parole, still doesn't matter, just register to vote and vote. So another thing that we want to make sure people are wary of are not just claims by people, quite honestly, like the president, that put out misinformation, but anything else that you see on social media platforms, whether you look at Facebook or Twitter or Google or YouTube or what have you. We're working with all of those social media platforms to make sure that they take down any misinformation. But when you see it and it sounds strange to you and something doesn't seem right, remember to check with the Secretary of State's office to confirm whether it's correct or not. Or if you see something that you know is wrong, please report it to misinformation@michigan.gov. That's misinformation@michigan.gov. Just report it, let us know about it so that we can check into it. The other thing I want to say is this. Some people are concerned, and especially I would say minority communities, naturalized citizen communities, minority communities. People are worried that if they go to the polls, they're going to be harassed, that there'll be people there that are screaming and shouting at them and trying to suppress their vote. Let me assure you of this. My department has been working with every law enforcement agency in the state, and we are going to make sure that if anyone tries to bother you when you vote, tries to stand in your way, is they're acting aggressive, is they're trying to stop you from going in and performing your civic duty, law enforcement is going to be on that right away. And we're going to make sure that there is no one there hassling any potential voters. And all you have to do is contact your local law enforcement or contact us at the Department of Michigan Attorney General, and we will make certain that that does not occur. So that is not a reason to stay away from the polls. Again, you can always vote absentee if you want to avoid even the thought of going to the polls altogether. But if you're a person who likes to vote on election day at the polls, let us know if there are any problems, and we're going to make sure that we take care of any bad actors that are interfering with your right to vote.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.